2014. She added that President Barack Hussein needed to be, quote, be less conservative in his attempts to revive the economy. Boy, does she need to get a grip on reality. President Barack Hussein is the least conservative human being on the planet. He is the least conservative. How could he be less conservative? There is no way. It's almost like, do you have any money? No, I'm broke. I have zero money. Oh, yeah? Well, I have less than that. How can you? So it just goes to show you that the feng shui mocklinglings don't always get it right. And if that wasn't bad enough, now NASA, which is not the Word of God, says, and Jilly sent me this. What else? She sent me something else, too. I've got it. Here we go. This is... the asteroid is skimmed by in record near miss. Scientists at the Space Agency are expected to reveal the reassuring news for Earthlings at a news conference on Thursday. Their calculations predict the asteroid 2012 DA-14 will whistle past Earth on February 15th, closer than the orbit of some weather and communication satellites, speeding by at a distance of 17,000 miles, which is 27,400 kilometers. That would be the planet's closest shave with an identified flying object since records began. Asteroids and meteorites have come closer than that, have ended up colliding with the planet, but this one is not thought to be a danger to either U.S. or satellite. And when is that supposed to happen? February the 15th. Ooh. I have not packed my bags for Mars yet. Now, here is something that I think is interesting. Jilly also sent me this. The government is being urged by the Royal Academy of Engineering to set up a UK space weather board to help cope with a massive radiation blast from the sun. Such an explosion could trigger blackouts. I've had a few of those. Knock out 1 in 10 satellites. I've tried that one too. And disrupt aircraft and GPS systems. I don't disrupt a GPS system, but I've had my GPS system disrupt my driving a few times. If you've ever used one of those stupid things, and they're not all of them. Some of them are pretty smart. Some of them will get you right to the front door of where you're supposed to go. And there's I don't know what brand it is, but some of them, my wife ended up in Branson, Missouri, driving around in circles trying to find some place because the GPS said, recalculating, turn left, recalculating, turn left. Stupid thing. Anyway, statistically, a solar superstorm is likely to occur every 100 to 200 years. Although solar weather events happen regularly, the Earth has not experienced a superstorm since the start of the space age. The last true superstorm, known as Carrington event, occurred in 1859 when Earth was hit by a tidal wave of energetic particles following a large solar flare. Induced currents caused by the blast sent sparks flying from telegraph pylons and caused fires. Around the world, night skies are lit up by magnificent aurora displays. Do you know what the possible, and I haven't read the rest of the article. Do you know what a solar storm, a powerful enough solar storm could do? I mean, this is realistic stuff. Could realistically do to the infrastructure of the planet. It's sort of like the idea, then this keeps getting floating around, and people are going, oh, wow, maybe we could do this. Electromagnetic pulse. An EMP blast. It's theorized. Apparently it's more than theory. But there was a TV show came on a few years ago called Jericho, and it was about the detonation of 23. That's an interesting number. 23 nuclear blasts all over America as a staged attempt to bring about a fascist takeover of what was left of the United States. And it featured a a little town outside of Colorado in Kansas called Jericho, Kansas. Doesn't exist, I don't think. But anyway, it featured that town and what would happen. And they had an EMP blast, and it destroyed everything electrical. I mean, nothing would run. Cars, nothing. And, you know, and there's been, I think the movie, what was it? The movie Knowing was something about that. There was the movie... I can't think. It was a remake of a science fiction movie, Aliens Landing and Klaatu, and anyway, it was about the idea that we've destroyed the Earth and we're a nuisance, and so the aliens are going to come and kill us all. Oh wait, we have another plan. Let's just disable their use of electricity so they'll go back to digging stuff out of the dirt to live. You know, that's the way to live. And so anyway, that's what that was about. And it just kind of, you know, I want to ask you a serious question, and I'm being dead serious on this. When you read in the Bible, especially, let's take Ezekiel 37, Ezekiel 38. The place in there about Gog and Magog coming in on horses and with spears and swords, and then they got to burn all their stuff for 7 years and things like that. And then, you know, we look at the Bible with modern glasses because we know those poor people back, 4,000 years ago didn't know that we were going to have cars and electricity and bullets and, lasers and helicopters and all that stuff. So they were only writing in a symbolic language that really could mean like cars and tanks and bullets and lasers and helicopters. And so they say that, well, that's not to be taken literally, because we know right now that nobody actually fights with spears and horses and wooden shields and stuff like that. Nobody does that anymore. What if, just a question, what if something happened and it knocked out all of the Earth's electrical stuff? No more internet, right? No more Facebook. No more Pastor Mike Online. The only Pastor Mike Online would be if I were standing on a rope giving a sermon. How would we fight wars in that case? Horses, spears, shields, things like that. So, it's at least a hypothesis, all right? And then I mentioned this last night. You know what? Let me read this first before I get into that. I mentioned this last night about these superstar half-naked women in Hollywood that are speaking in tongues. I'll get to that in a minute. Here is something going on right now in America, the Boy Scouts. And let me just tell you, as a dad, there is no way in the world that I am ever going to put my son, my 9-year-old son, in an organization that allows campouts between underage boys and grown men. And you wouldn't even think of that 30, 40 years ago. That would never even cross your mind. But today, 2013, there is no way in stink that I am ever going to allow my 9-year-old son to go sleep in a tent with a grown man. Not anymore. Not happening. Because you just don't know who these men are. You don't know who they are. You say, oh, yeah, he comes You don't know. I want to tell you something. Can I just shoot straight with you? Can I just talk one-to-one here? You don't even know the men in your own church. You don't know that. I'll give you an example. There was a pastor that wanted to, and this is coming to me by way of another pastor. There was a pastor that had a young man for a youth minister or whatever. It was a conservative fundamental church. And the youth minister kept wanting to have a swimming party. Well, only with the boys, though, because, you don't do mixed swimming. And the pastor said, no, I don't think that's a good idea. No, we probably won't do that. No, we don't have time for that or whatever. He kept giving excuses. But the thing was, that pastor was about 90% convinced that youth pastor was a closet sodomite. And, of course, naturally, he did not want to have that swimming party with the boys or with the girls. He wanted to have it with the boys. I have met men, and I have one of the men in my mind right now that if I knew it for a fact, if I knew it absolutely for a fact, I would not hesitate for a second to give you their name. And if I gave you their name, you would go, oh. But I have met a man that I absolutely will not have really much anything else to do with him ever again. Because of a suspicion that I have. And if I as a parent have that suspicion, I am obligated to be careful of who I let my children around. Okay? I'm just telling you, there's no way in the world I would send my boy to a Boy Scouts camp. Not going to happen. So now the Boy Scouts are embroiled in this little controversy about allowing gay men, openly gay men. Hi, my name is Freddie. Openly gay men to be scoutmasters to go on campouts. So the article says, vote on gay ban threatened to split scouts. Boy Scouts of America, on Wednesday, delayed until May. Well, that's when they're going to start going camping. Delayed until May, a decision on whether to end the group's ban on gay members after a planned vote exposed rifts that threatened to break apart the nearly 103-year-old group. You know what? Let them break apart. Let them who want the sodomite scoutmasters to go on the campouts with the boys, let them go ahead and have their own group so that at least you would know which one to choose when you put your kid in Boy Scouts. You could either choose the sodomite Boy Scouts group, or you can choose the one where you hope maybe there's still not some left in there. But let them split up, for crying out loud. Anyway, but in private meetings over the past few weeks, Scouts executives encountered bewilderment, resistance, and anger, participants told the Wall Street Journal. It came to a head during closed-door executive board meetings earlier this week in Irving, Texas, with some church representatives imploring the Scouts to delay the vote, according to people briefed or present for the deliberations. One top Scouts leader was driven to tears Monday, according to several participants. One board member who was present for the meeting Wednesday said the Scouts didn't take a formal vote before deciding to postpone the decision. I don't understand this. I mean, I don't understand why you're running the organization, and some reason there's a question in your mind about whether this is really bad for your organization or not. I don't understand that. In a web conference with Scout leaders on Wednesday afternoon, Scouts Chief Executive Wayne Brock said the proposal to end the ban came about as outside forces put pressure on the Scouts to address its policy on gays, or sodomites as the Bible calls them. He urged leaders to show up at their next meeting in May with an, quote, here it is, an open mind. Have you ever been accused of having a closed mind? Well, you're just narrow. You're closed-minded. There is an openness with God. There is I love for him to say it. There's a wide road with God. No, there isn't. Narrow.